Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. Man, sometimes life throws you into moments that make you stop, look around, and say, what in the world just happened? You ever been there? When something so wild, so unexpected hits you right in the chest, you can't help but laugh and cry at the same time. That's the kind of story I'm about to tell you right now. Respect and boundaries define your character more than your desires, because in this world, your ability to control yourself when everything in you wants to break loose, that's what shows who you really are. Anybody can be kind when things are easy. Attempt. When nobody's testing you, when you're not tempted by something you think you deserve. But the real measure of a man or a woman is how they act when they could take what they want and no one would stop them. That moment right there separates the mature from the reckless, the wise from the foolish, the disciplined from the desperate. Respect is not something you give because the world demands it. It's something you give because your soul requires it. It's the quiet agreement you make with yourself that says, no matter what happens, I will not lose myself trying to get something that isn't mine. We live in a world that confuses want with worth. People chase after what they desire so hard that they forget to ask, is this right for me? Or even, is this right at all? But when you live by respect, when you set boundaries not out of fear but out of principle, you start to see life differently. You start realizing that peace is more valuable than pleasure, that honor lasts longer than satisfaction, and that sometimes the thing that tempts you most is the thing that would cost you the most. The world claps for success, but your soul claps for self-control. And when you learn to respect others, what they have, what they love, what they've worked for, you begin to understand that respect is really a reflection of how much you value yourself. Because people who know their worth don't need to steal someone else's light. They shine on their own. You see, respect is the foundation of all relationships that last. It's what keeps families together, friendship strong, and love pure. When you respect someone, you don't cross lines even if you could. You don't take advantage even when it's easy. You don't test someone's trust just to see if they'll forgive you later. Because real respect isn't about fear of punishment. It's about love for peace. It's about knowing that some lines, once crossed, can never be redrawn. And boundaries, they're not walls to keep people out. They're fences to keep your soul safe. They tell the world, this is where I stand. This is what I believe in. This is who I refuse to stop being. People who lack boundaries often mistake chaos for freedom. They think saying yes to everything means they're living life to the fullest, but in truth, they're just giving themselves away piece by piece until there's nothing left. Boundaries are how you tell life, I respect myself enough to say no. It's not selfishness, it's strength. Because if you don't protect your energy, your time, your peace, someone else will waste them for you. You can't blame the world for walking over you if you never built a line they shouldn't cross. Respect starts inside before it ever shows outside. You can't give what you don't have. You can't honor someone else if you live dishonorably with yourself. When you understand that, you stop chasing validation and start protecting your value. You stop looking for people to treat you right and start treating yourself right. Respect becomes your compass. It directs you away from drama, away from temptation, away from anything that would make you small. It teaches you that not everyone deserves access to your space, your heart, or your time. Because when you respect yourself, you set the tone for how the world treats you. If you lower your standards, people will trip over them without even saying sorry. But when you stand firm, when your boundaries are clear, the right people will rise to meet them. Respect also means accepting that some things are not meant for you, no matter how much you want them. Maybe it's a relationship that looks perfect, but isn't yours to touch. Maybe it's an opportunity that would cost you your integrity. Maybe it's a shortcut that would get you ahead, but take you out of alignment with who you are. The truth is, you'll never regret walking away from something that violates your principles, but you'll spend years trying to recover from the things you took without respect. The world teaches you to chase. Respect teaches you to discern. The world tells you to take what you can. Respect tells you to take only what's right. There's power in restraint. It's not weakness to say no when everything in you says yes. That's what strength really is. The quiet power to choose principle over pleasure. Because desire fades, but character stays. Respect keeps you from burning bridges you might need later, from hurting people you'll wish you hadn't, from losing parts of yourself you can't get back. When you live with respect, you sleep better at night because your soul isn't heavy with guilt. You can look people in the eye because you know you didn't step on them to feel tall. And boundaries don't just protect others. They protect you from yourself. They remind you that your emotions are temporary, but your choices are permanent. You can't let your feelings decide your values. Feelings change, principles don't. Boundaries are your way of saying, I know my heart, but I trust my wisdom more. That's how you stay grounded when life tries to shake you. That's how you hold on to your integrity when the world says to compromise. Respect is also contagious. When you live by it, people notice. They may not always agree, but they'll feel it. They'll see how you carry yourself, how you speak, how you treat others, and they'll either rise to meet that energy or fall away from it. And either outcome is a blessing. You'll attract better relationships, stronger friendships, and deeper peace. Because people who respect themselves naturally create a life where respect flows both ways. In the end, respect and boundaries define everything about your character. They tell the world what kind of person you are long before you open your mouth. They show whether you lead with pride or with principle, whether you act out of impulse or integrity. Life will always test your limits, always tempt you with something that asks you to step over your line. But the ones who stay true, who hold that invisible line between right and wrong, between want and wisdom, those are the ones who walk with real power. Because while the world chases what feels good, they stand for what is good. Not everything you want is meant to be yours. And that's one of the hardest truths to accept in this life. Because desire is loud. It whispers in your ear. It tugs on your emotions. It convinces you that if you just had that one thing, that one person, that one opportunity, everything would finally make sense. But life doesn't work that way. Sometimes the things you want most are the very things that would break you if you got them. Sometimes what feels like a blessing in the moment is actually a test in disguise. And when you learn that wanting something doesn't make it yours, you begin to grow. You begin to understand that life's wisdom isn't in how much you gain, but in how much you can surrender with peace in your heart. Attempt. We've all been there, wanting something so badly that it becomes an obsession. You can't sleep without thinking about it, can't focus without imagining it. Maybe it's a person you thought was the one. Maybe it's a dream job that slipped through your fingers. Maybe it's that sense of recognition you've been craving, the validation you thought would fill that empty space inside. But when it doesn't happen, when life tells you, no, your heart breaks, you feel like you've been cheated, like the universe is unfair. Yet with time, if you're wise enough to listen, you'll see that every closed door had a purpose. Every denied desire was protection in disguise. Because sometimes not getting what you want is the most loving thing life can do for you. We don't see the whole picture. We see the moment, the emotion, the surface of what we think is good for us. But God, fate, the universe, whatever name you give it, sees beyond that. It sees the consequence, the aftertaste, the ripple effect. What looks beautiful from far away might carry pain up close. What looks like success might come with a price your soul can't afford. And what looks like love might be disguised control, dependence, or destruction. So when life withholds something from you, it's not always rejection. Sometimes it's redirection. Sometimes it's a quiet whisper saying, you deserve better than this. The truth is, attempt. Wanting something doesn't make it right for you. There are things you crave simply because you're lonely, not because they're meant for you. There are opportunities you chase because your ego wants to be seen, not because your soul wants to grow. And there are people you cling to because they make you feel alive, not because they make you whole. You must learn to separate what your emotions desire from what your purpose requires. Because when you live by emotion alone, you chase what feels good. But when you live by wisdom, you pursue what is good. Maturity is learning to thank life even when it doesn't give you what you asked for. It's learning to say, I trust the timing. Even when I don't understand the plan, it's learning to walk away from something that looks perfect on the outside, but disturbs your peace on the inside. Because peace is the proof of alignment. If you have to lose yourself to gain something, it's not meant for you. If you have to compromise your values, your sleep, or your self-respect to hold on to it, it's not meant for you. The things that are truly meant for you won't make you chase them with anxiety. They'll meet you with grace. You see, life isn't about getting everything you want. It's about becoming the kind of person who can handle what's truly yours. Some things you want right now would crush you if you got them too soon. You're asking for a gift that requires growth first. You're praying for a door to open when you haven't yet built the strength to walk through it. Timing matters as much as desire. Just because something is meant for you doesn't mean it's meant for you now. Patience isn't punishment, it's preparation. Life delays certain things not to deny you, but to develop you. Because if you get it too early, you won't be able to keep it. Sometimes we hold on to desires like they're oxygen. We convince ourselves that without them, life has no meaning. But freedom comes when you realize that your worth doesn't depend on what you have, who you love, or what you achieve. The moment you stop believing that fulfillment lives in something outside of you is the moment you become truly powerful. You stop begging life to give you what you want and start building peace with what you have. That peace, that inner stillness, is worth more than anything you could chase. And yet the world will tell you otherwise. The world will tell you that if you want something, you should never stop chasing it. That if you dream it, it's already yours. But life doesn't bend to slogans, it bends to truth. And the truth is, some things are not yours, not because you're not good enough, but because they were never meant to fit your story. You can't force what's not aligned. You can't rewrite someone else's role to fit your script. And when you try, you only create pain for yourself. There's wisdom in letting go, in saying, that's not my path, even when your heart still aches for it. Letting go doesn't mean you didn't care. It means you've decided to care for yourself more. It means you've learned that peace is better than possession. It means you've chosen to trust that what's meant for you will not require you to lose yourself to have it. And when you live like that, when you stop grasping and start flowing, life opens in ways you could never plan. The things that are truly yours find their way to you without force, without fear, without manipulation. They come naturally because you've made space for them. There's a sacred power in acceptance, not the kind that gives up, but the kind that understands the difference between effort and forcing. You can work hard, pray, prepare, and position yourself, but the outcome still belongs to something greater than your control. You do your part, and then you let life do its part. And when it doesn't turn out the way you hoped, you trust that something better, something more aligned, is on its way. You must understand that the heart's desires are not always divine directions. Sometimes your desires are echoes of your past, not visions of your future. They come from old wounds, old patterns, old emptiness trying to fill itself. That's why you have to pause and ask, why do I want this? Because when your desires come from healing, they guide you. But when they come from hurt, they trap you. So not everything you want is meant to be yours. And that's a mercy, not a tragedy. There's freedom in knowing that life doesn't owe you everything you ask for. There's grace in realizing that the universe, in its wisdom, withholds what will harm you even when you think it will help. Because the truth is, you can't lose what's truly yours. If something leaves, it wasn't yours to begin with. And if it is yours, it will find you again when the time is right, in a form that brings peace instead of pain. The only thing that was ever truly meant to be yours is your growth, your peace, and your purpose. Everything else is temporary, a part of the journey, not the destination. True strength is shown by what you can walk away from, because anyone can hold on, anyone can chase, anyone can cling to what they desire when it feels good. But it takes a rare kind of courage to look at something you love, something that once made your heart race, and still say, this is not right for me. Strength is not always in the grip. Sometimes it's in the release. It's not about how much you can endure, but how deeply you can trust that walking away doesn't mean you're losing. It means you're growing. The world glorifies holding on, fighting for what you want, pushing through no matter the cost. But no one talks about the quiet power it takes to let go of something that no longer serves your peace, your growth, or your purpose. When you walk away from something, you're not just leaving it behind, you're declaring to yourself, I choose myself this time. You're choosing your sanity over chaos, your peace over confusion, your self-respect over temporary comfort. That's what true strength looks like. It's not loud or dramatic. It's calm, steady attempt rooted in self-awareness. It's that moment when you realize that sometimes you've given enough, tried enough, forgiven enough, and now it's time to step back, not because you stopped caring, because you started caring about yourself too. That decision hurts. It shakes your emotions. It tests your faith. It breaks your routine. But that's how you know it's powerful. Because anything that challenges you that deeply is usually what's meant to set you free. Most people confuse endurance with strength. They think if they can attempt, they're strong. If they can tolerate pain, they're strong. If they can keep pretending it's okay, they're strong. But that's not strength, that's survival. True strength is not found in how much pain you can take, but in how wisely you respond to it. Sometimes it's easy to stay because staying feels familiar. Walking away feels like failure. You start to think, maybe I just need to try harder. Maybe this time will be different. But strength isn't about trying harder. When your spirit is breaking, it's about knowing when enough is enough. It takes strength to walk away from people who don't value you, from situations that drain you, from habits that destroy you. Because every time you walk away, you're killing a part of your old self, the version that thought you couldn't live without them, that you needed their approval, that you had to settle for less. Walking away is rebirth. It's closing a door not out of bitterness, but out of clarity. It's saying, I love myself too much to keep shrinking just to fit into something that doesn't fit me anymore. You learn that sometimes walking away is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's understanding that not every battle is meant to be fought, not every relationship is meant to be saved, and not every situation deserves your energy. Some things are meant to fall apart so you can fall into place. Some people are meant to leave so your true circle can find you. And some dreams are meant to fail so your real purpose can rise. Strength is in trusting that letting go isn't the end of the story. It's the beginning of a new one that's more aligned with who you are becoming. There will be times when walking away makes you feel guilty. You'll question yourself, wondering if you're giving up too soon, if you're being selfish. But you have to remember, there's a difference between quitting and protecting your peace. Quitting is running from responsibility. Walking away is honoring your worth. You don't owe anyone your exhaustion. You don't have to keep breaking yourself to prove your loyalty. You're allowed to outgrow people, situations, and even versions of yourself. That's not betrayal. That's evolution. Strength also means walking away from the old stories you keep telling yourself. The ones that say you're not enough, that say you have to settle, that say your happiness depends on someone else's approval. Those stories have kept you small for too long. When you walk away from them, you reclaim your power. You start writing a new story. One where you don't chase love, attempt you. Embody it. One where you don't beg for respect, you command it. One where you stop waiting for permission to live and start choosing yourself unapologetically. And it's not easy. Walking away from what's familiar, even when it's toxic, feels like tearing away a part of yourself. Because comfort doesn't always mean safety. Sometimes it's just the pain you've learned to live with. But real strength is realizing you deserve more than what's comfortable. You deserve what's right. You deserve peace that doesn't cost you your sanity, love that doesn't confuse you, success that doesn't compromise your integrity. To get there, you must let go of anything that holds you below that level. It's in those silent moments after you walk away, when the noise fades and the loneliness kicks in, that you'll start to see who you really are. You'll discover your resilience, your faith, your courage. You'll learn that your heart can break and still beat stronger. You'll learn that your soul can ache and still find peace. You'll learn that endings are not always losses. Sometimes they're divine setups for something greater. Walking away also means trusting what you cannot yet see. It's believing that if you have the courage to leave behind what's not meant for you, life will reward you with what is. That's not just optimism. That's faith in motion. That's saying, I may not know what's next, but I know I can't stay here. And that's enough, because faith doesn't need the full picture. It just needs the courage to take the first step. People might not understand your decision. They might call you cold, heartless, or ungrateful, but they don't know the nights you cried yourself to sleep. They don't know the weight you carried trying to keep things together. They don't know the silent prayers you whispered, asking for strength to do what's right. Only you know what it costs to stay. Only you know the pain that comes with pretending. And when you finally walk away, you're not abandoning anyone, you're saving yourself. There's beauty in that. There's power in choosing your peace over people's opinions. There's healing in walking away without hate in your heart, without bitterness in your voice. Because true strength is not in proving them wrong. It's in proving to yourself that you can rise without revenge, heal without closure, and love again without fear. It's in saying, I don't need to win this fight, I just need to protect my peace. So when the time comes to walk away, don't let fear of being alone keep you in places where your soul can't breathe. Don't let guilt convince you that you owe anyone your pain. You owe it to yourself to stand tall, to breathe deeply, to move forward even if your legs shake. Because the path of walking away may be lonely at first, but it leads to freedom, and freedom is where your true strength lies. Loyalty is tested when emotions collide with temptation, because it's easy to be loyal when everything is calm, when nobody's testing your heart, when there's no pressure pulling you in opposite directions. But the real proof of loyalty shows up in chaos, when desire whispers one thing and duty demands another, when your emotions are on fire and your principles are on trial. That's where character is revealed. Loyalty isn't about words, it's about choices. It's about the moments when nobody's watching, when you could betray someone, when you could step over that line and probably get away with it. But something inside you says, don't you dare. That voice is the echo of your integrity, and once you stop listening to it, you lose something far more valuable than what temptation promises. You lose yourself. When emotions and temptation collide, the heart becomes a battlefield. Part of you wants to do what feels good, what feels easy, what gives you that rush of excitement or pleasure. The other part reminds you of what's right, of the people who trust you, of the values you promise to live by. In that moment, every person faces a choice that defines who they are, not who they pretend to be. Because loyalty is not proven when it's convenient, it's proven when it's costly. It's proven when doing the right thing breaks your heart. When saying no feels like tearing yourself in half, that's when loyalty stops being a word and becomes a way of life. People often think temptation only comes in the form of something obviously wrong, but sometimes it comes disguised as something beautiful, something flattering, something that makes you feel seen and desired. It comes when your emotions are weak, when you feel neglected, when life has left you lonely. Temptation doesn't always knock down your door. It waits for the moment you leave it cracked open. That's when loyalty becomes more than a promise. It becomes protection. It's what keeps you from making decisions you'll regret when the emotions fade and reality settles in. Because every temptation is temporary, but every choice has consequences that can last a lifetime. Loyalty is not just about relationships with others, it's about the relationship you have with your own soul. When you betray someone's trust, you also betray yourself. You chip away at your own peace. You start carrying guilt like a shadow that never leaves. And the cruel thing about guilt is that it doesn't show up all at once. It builds quietly until it changes how you see yourself. That's why loyalty is not about rules, it's about freedom. It's the freedom to look in the mirror without shame, to sleep at night knowing your heart is clean, to walk through life with your head held high, because you didn't take the easy way out. When emotions collide with temptation, they blind you to logic. The heart starts justifying what the mind knows is wrong. You start telling yourself stories like, it's not that bad, or nobody will know, but deep down, You always know. That's why loyalty requires discipline, the ability to say no even when every fiber of your being wants to say yes. Because discipline is love in action. When you're loyal, you're not denying yourself pleasure. You're protecting your purpose. You're saying, I'm not going to trade my peace for a moment that won't mean anything tomorrow. Loyalty also means standing by people when they're not easy to love. It's easy to be loyal when things are good, when you're being praised, when you're receiving something in return. But true loyalty shows when the world turns against them, when it's unpopular to stand beside them, when you get nothing out of it except knowing you stayed true. That's rare in today's world where most people are loyal only until it's inconvenient. But the ones who remain, the ones who hold their ground even when emotions say to run, that's the kind of loyalty that builds unbreakable bonds. Temptation doesn't always come in the form of another person. Sometimes it's the temptation to quit, to give up on your dreams because they're hard, to stop believing in yourself because success is taking too long. Sometimes it's the temptation to cut corners, to compromise your values for quick results. But loyalty to your purpose is just as sacred as loyalty to people. If you can stay committed to your mission even when motivation fades, even when the reward isn't immediate, that's real loyalty. It means you're guided by vision, not emotion. It means you can keep going even when your heart is tired, because you know why you started. There's another kind of temptation too, the one that tests your pride. The temptation to prove people wrong, to seek revenge, to let bitterness drive your actions. When your emotions burn with anger or hurt, loyalty to your higher self is tested. Can you stay kind when you're disrespected? Can you stay true to your values when someone betrays you? That's the hardest test of all, because it's not about being weak, it's about being wise. It's realizing that your reaction defines you more than their actions ever could. That's loyalty to your own peace, your own growth, your own spirit. Sometimes being loyal means walking away. It means knowing when your loyalty has turned into self-destruction. When you're staying in something that's breaking you because you're afraid to leave. Loyalty doesn't mean tolerating disrespect or pain. It doesn't mean letting someone drain you while calling it love. Loyalty without boundaries becomes bondage. You can be loyal and still say, this isn't healthy anymore. You can love someone and still know that the best way to stay true to them and yourself is to let go. Because loyalty is not about staying, it's about staying true. And when temptation hits hard, when your emotions are screaming louder than your logic, that's when you need to pause and remember what's at stake. One wrong choice can undo years of trust, years of integrity, years of peace. The thrill of the moment fades, but the damage lingers. So when you feel that pull, that spark of temptation, remind yourself that everything beautiful that isn't built on truth eventually collapses. It might take time, but lies always fall apart. Loyalty is what keeps your foundation solid. It's what keeps your relationships, your reputation, and your heart from crumbling. People often mistake loyalty for weakness, as if being faithful means being naive. But the truth is, loyalty takes more strength than betrayal ever will. Betrayal is easy. It's selfish, impulsive, emotional. Loyalty takes control. It takes backbone. It takes the kind of maturity that says, I could, but I won't. I want to, but I shouldn't. I feel like it, but I respect myself too much. That's real power. That's emotional strength. That's what separates the temporary from the timeless. In the end, loyalty isn't something you do for others. It's something you do for the person you see in the mirror. It's the quiet vow you make to never let your emotions make promises your character can't keep. It's knowing that temptation might knock on your door 1,000 times, but you don't have to answer even once. Because what you protect when you stay loyal isn't just someone else's trust. It's your own peace, your own name, your own soul. Dignity is the greatest victory you can ever claim, because at the end of the day, when everything else is taken from you, your money, your relationships, your titles, your possessions, the one thing no one can strip away unless you hand it over is your dignity. Dignity is not pride. It's not arrogance. It's that quiet, unshakable sense of self-worth that says, no matter what happens, I will not lose myself trying to please this world. It's the crown you wear when life tries to drag you through the mud and you still choose to stand tall. Dignity isn't loud. It doesn't need attention or validation. It's silent power, the kind that doesn't shout but still commands respect. It's knowing who you are even when others misunderstand you, lie about you, or underestimate you. There will come moments in life when keeping your dignity will feel like losing everything else. People will push your limits, insult your name, betray your trust, attempt, and expect you to react. They'll want to see you break, to see you lose your composure, to see you turn bitter. But when you hold your peace, when you don't let their chaos pull you down into the same mud, that's not weakness. That's mastery. Because it takes strength to respond with grace when you're being tested. It takes power to walk away without explaining yourself. It takes courage to stay kind in a world that confuses kindness for weakness. Dignity means not letting other people's behavior dictate your own. It means saying, Ted, you can treat me however you want, but you'll never change who I am. You stop trying to win arguments with people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You stop chasing after people who make you feel small. You stop explaining yourself to those who only want to twist your words. Because when you know your worth, you no longer feel the need to prove it. Dignity teaches you that silence is sometimes louder than words, and walking away is sometimes stronger than fighting back. People often confuse revenge with redemption. They think proving someone wrong will restore their value. But the truth is, dignity is the real revenge. It's not about showing them what they lost. It's about showing yourself that their actions didn't break you. When you maintain your dignity in the face of disrespect, you take away the power they thought they had over you. You don't let bitterness stain your spirit. You don't let anger control your moves. You simply rise. And that rise, that quiet resilience is something no one can imitate or fake. It's born from pain, but it shines with peace. Dignity is also about boundaries. It's the strength to say, I will not tolerate being treated less than I deserve. It's not about punishing people. It's about protecting your soul. Because every time you let someone cross a line and stay silent, you teach them that your peace is negotiable. But when you stand firm, when you calmly but firmly say, no more, you reclaim your power. Dignity doesn't mean you stop loving people. It means you love yourself enough to know when to step back. It's not cruelty to protect your energy. It's wisdom, because your peace is sacred. And once you lose it, it takes years to rebuild. Sometimes dignity means letting go of your need to be understood. The truth is, not everyone will see your side of the story. Some people will only remember the version of events that makes them feel right. You can't change that, and trying to will only drain you. Dignity is accepting that truth and saying, I don't need everyone to understand me. I just need to understand myself. When you live with dignity, you stop begging people to see your value. You start showing it through the way you carry yourself, through your calm in chaos, through your refusal to stoop to pettiness. In a world obsessed with attention, dignity becomes rare. Everyone wants to be heard, to be seen, to clap back, attempt to prove something. But when you have dignity, you don't need the noise. You learn the power of restraint. You learn that peace is better than being right. You learn that maturity is knowing when to respond and when to walk away. And sometimes walking away is the loudest statement you can ever make. It says, I respect myself too much to keep fighting battles that only drain me. Dignity also teaches forgiveness, not because others deserve it, but because you do. Holding on to anger poisons your spirit, chains you to the past, and robs you of your light. When you forgive, you're not saying what they did was okay. You're saying, you no longer have the power to define how I feel. Forgiveness is not weakness. It's the ultimate act of dignity. It's choosing your peace over your pain. It's deciding that no one's mistake is worth your sleepless nights or your broken spirit. When you release that weight, you rise lighter, freer, and stronger. Dignity is choosing humility over humiliation. It's understanding that even when you've been wronged, you don't have to return the same energy. You can respond from a place of wisdom instead of reaction. You can choose peace without letting people walk over you. Because dignity isn't passive, it's powerful self-control. It's the quiet confidence that says, I could destroy you with words, but I choose silence. I could expose you with truth, but I choose grace. That's not weakness. That's strength clothed in wisdom. You'll find that people who lack dignity often try to pull others down with them. They gossip, they provoke, they lie just to get a reaction. Don't give them what they want. The moment you react, you hand them your peace. The moment you stoop to their level, you let them dictate your behavior. But when you stay calm, when you keep your tone steady and your heart centered, you disarm them. You make them face their own reflection while you stay unbothered. That's what dignity does. It makes chaos uncomfortable in your presence. There's a quiet beauty in carrying yourself with dignity, even when life hurts. Tempt. It's in the way you get up after being betrayed, the way you smile after being rejected, the way you keep believing even after being disappointed. Attempt at dignity doesn't mean you don't feel pain. It means you refuse to let pain turn you bitter. It means you still believe in kindness, in goodness, in love, even when the world gives you every reason not to. That's how dignity becomes victory. It turns your suffering into strength, your heartbreak into healing, your silence into statement. And perhaps the truest sign of dignity is how you treat people who mistreated you. When you have every chance to retaliate, but you don't. When you could speak against them, but you choose to rise above. That's when you know you've won, not because you proved a point, but because you didn't let them change your spirit. Dignity is victory over ego, victory over anger, victory over the need to be seen as right. It's the quiet assurance that your peace is your prize. It's the invisible crown you wear not because the world gave it to you, but because you earned it by staying true to yourself when everything tried to make you someone else.